Most people already know the basics about money. Save a little, invest some, spend wisely. And yeah, these ideas sound so simple you might think, I've heard all this before. But here's the thing. If they're so simple, why are most people still broke or stuck living paycheck to paycheck? It's because knowing something isn't the same as living it. And without a clear, step-by-step way to apply these rules, most people never stick with them long enough to see results. By the end of this video, you'll walk away with 5 timeless money lessons, the exact same ones that turned Arcad, a broke scribe in ancient Babylon, into the richest man in the richest city of his time. They're simple, yes, but they're powerful. And if you actually follow them, they can completely change your financial life. So let's step into ancient Babylon. Imagine the dusty streets, the cries of merchants, the smell of spices in the air, and there's Arcad, just a broke scribe. He's been scratching numbers into clay tablets all day, while everyone else around him jingles pouches of gold. Finally, he's had enough. He goes up to Algamish, one of the richest men in the city, and asks, "How do I get what you have?" Algamish doesn't give him a huge speech. He just leans in and says, "Keep 1/10 of all you earn, always pay yourself first." That's it, no magic trick, just keep 10%. So Arcad tries it. For months, 1 coin out of every 10 goes straight into his own pouch, and he feels amazing. For the first time, the pouch is getting heavier. Then, the Festival of the Moon happens. New robes, exotic wine, musicians playing all night, and Arcad's like, "I deserve this." You already know what happens next. Pouch empty. Next time he sees Algamish, he tells him what happened. And Algamish just laughs. "You pay the wine seller, the robe maker, the landlord, but you don't pay yourself. That's why you're still poor." And honestly, we do the same thing now. Paycheck comes in and poof, gone. Bills, rent, food delivery, subscriptions you forgot you had. Then you say you'll save what's left, but nothing's ever left. The fix? Flip the order. First bill you pay is to yourself. Minimum 10%, every single time. Doesn't matter if it's a side hustle or a salary, you take your cut first. And don't rely on memory. Automate it. Think of every saved dollar as a soldier in your personal army. Every month, you're adding more soldiers. And one day, that army fights for you. Buying your freedom from a job you hate, funding that dream business, or giving you choices instead of financial panic. I even know a guy who worked minimum wage at a bakery. He still saved 10% for 5 years. That turned into enough to open his own cafe. Now he's his own boss. But after a while, Arcad noticed something. The pouch was heavier, sure, but it wasn't changing his life. Because you can't just save your way to wealth. You need to control what's going out just as much as you control what's coming in. And that's where lesson 2 comes in. And this is where most people's money problems actually start. Even though he's saving 10%, he still feels broke. So next time Algamish visits, Arcad says, "I'm doing what you told me. I'm saving my 10th, but I'm still poor the rest of the month." Algamish just smiles. That's because you confuse your wants with your needs. What you call necessary expenses will always grow to match your income, unless you control them. And man, if that isn't the most relatable thing ever, you get a raise, and within a month, you've accidentally upgraded your lifestyle. Bigger apartment, nicer clothes, more nights out. You swear you need it all. Arcad didn't believe him at first, so Algamish gave him a task. Write down every single coin you spend for a month. So he does it, and when he looks back at the clay tablet, he's shocked. A gold piece here for a musician at the tavern. 2 silver for imported figs he didn't even finish. A handful of coins for sandals he didn't need yet. Sound familiar? It's the same thing as our $5 coffee every day, or streaming subscriptions you forgot you had. Controlling your expenditures doesn't mean living like a monk. It means deciding in advance where your money will go, and making sure the important stuff gets priority. Arcad started planning his spending before the month began. Food, housing, a little for fun, all inside limits he set himself. And if he wanted something big, he'd save up for it instead of letting it steal from his future. And he didn't feel poorer. He actually felt richer. Because now his gold wasn't disappearing without his permission. If you want to try this, here's the modern version. For the next 30 days, track every expense. At the end of the month, circle the ones that didn't give you lasting value. Cut them. Keep the ones that genuinely matter. The money you free up, that's more gold to fatten your purse and later to invest. And that's the big takeaway here. Saving 10% is step 1, but if you let the other 90% slip away carelessly, you'll never get ahead. And Arcad's about to learn the next truth. Once you've got savings and you've stopped the leaks, that gold can't just sit there doing nothing. It has to start working for you, which is exactly what lesson 3 is all about. And this is where things start to get really interesting. So when Algamish visits again, Arcad says, "I've been saving, my purse is fat, but it's still the same gold I put in there. It's not multiplying." And Algamish says, "Gold that sits idle is lazy gold. You must put it to work so it can earn more gold for you, and those earnings can earn even more." That's when Arcad hears about compounding for the first time. Not in fancy math terms, just the idea that your money can have children, and those children can have grandchildren. Now, of course, Arkad is excited and impatient. He jumps on his first chance to invest. A friend of a friend, a brickmaker, says he can buy rare jewels from a far-off city and sell them here in Babylon for huge profit. Arkad thinks, perfect, this will double my gold. He gives the brickmaker his savings. A few weeks later, the jewels arrive, except they're worthless. Painted glass. All his gold? Gone. That's when Algamish gave him the second half of the rule. Guard thy treasures from loss. In plain English, don't throw your savings into things you don't understand. If you can't explain exactly how an investment works, how it makes money, and why it's safe enough for your comfort level, don't touch it. In today's world, this means doing real research before investing. No throwing your savings into something you barely get because some guy on YouTube sounded convincing. No putting money into your friend's next big app unless you've seen their track record and you understand the plan. Arkad never made that mistake again. He learned to grow his gold while protecting it. His next move was much smarter. He lent his gold to a shield maker, a man whose craft was in high demand and who knew his trade inside out. The shield maker paid Arkad a steady return, and Arkad's gold finally started multiplying. And if you want to dig deeper into smart investing, you can check out my video on the intelligent investor later. It breaks this down in way more detail. Lesson 4. Ensure a future income. By this point, Arkad's life looks nothing like it used to. But here's the thing about time. It doesn't care how rich or smart you are. One day, you won't have the strength or energy to work the way you do now. Arkad saw this reality every day in Babylon. Old men who'd been strong workers in their youth now sat outside the temple gates, begging for scraps. Women who once had bustling market stalls were now relying on their children just to survive. And Arkad thought, I don't want to be that man. So he asked Algamish, how do I make sure I'm cared for in my old age and my family is secure even when I can no longer labor? Algamish's answer was simple. Plan for tomorrow, as you do for today. Build an income that will flow even when your hands are idle. That hit Arkad hard. Until then, he'd been focused on growing his gold now. But Algamish was talking about the future. A future where your gold works so well for you that you can live without touching the original pile. In Babylon, this meant things like lending gold at interest, owning farmland that produced crops every year, or holding shares in trade caravans that kept bringing profits long after the initial investment. Arkad bought into a small herd of cattle that a trusted herdsman managed. Every season, the herd grew, and Arkad got his share without lifting a finger. In today's world, that's your retirement accounts, insurance, dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, royalties, side businesses that can run without you. Anything that will keep sending gold your way long after you've stopped clocking in. Arkad didn't wait until he was old to start this. He built those future incomes while he was still strong. Because here's the trap most people fall into. They think they'll get around to it later, but later creeps up faster than you think. And by then it's too late to build anything big. Lesson 5. Increase the ability to earn. By now, Arkad's story feels like a victory march. He's saving, investing, protecting his gold, and even has future income streams ready for the day his hands can no longer labor. But Arkad knew something most people never figure out. All of that, every lesson, has a ceiling. If your income stays small, your growth stays slow. 10% of a small purse is still a small trickle. 10% of a massive purse? That's a river. And that's where Arkad's final lesson comes in. The more skillful you are, the more gold you can earn. The more gold you earn, the faster every other lesson works. He didn't just mean work harder. Babylon was full of hard workers who never got rich. He meant learn skills that make your time more valuable. Make yourself impossible to ignore in your trade. Back when Arkad was a scribe, he could copy tablets faster than most men in Babylon. But he didn't stop there. He learned merchant mathematics, negotiation tricks, even how to read contracts so no one could cheat him. Each skill made him worth more to the right people. One time, a wealthy merchant needed a contract copied and checked in the same night before a caravan left for Damascus. Arkad was the only man in the city who could do both accurately. That night's pay, more than a month's normal wages. And that money? Straight into his fattening purse. In today's world, this might mean learning a new high-paying skill, picking up a certification, mastering a tool that's in demand, or even improving how you communicate so you can close better deals. The more valuable you are, the more gold you command. Let me ask you, if tomorrow you lost your job or your business, could you immediately offer a skill people would happily pay for? If the answer is not really, this is the part of Arkad's story you should take most seriously. If you increase your earning ability while applying all the earlier lessons, your wealth explodes. Saving 10% is powerful, but saving 10% of triple your income, that's when things start feeling unfair, in your favor. Arkad kept learning until the day he died. Even when he had more gold than he could spend, he still looked for ways to get better, sharper, faster, because he understood that his mind, not just his purse, was the real treasure. And that's how a broke scribe became the richest man in Babylon. So now the question is, which lesson are you going to start with today? Because the sooner you begin, the sooner you turn your own life into a story worth telling.